Well, today is August 23rd, and today must be, oh yeah, that's right, it's Tuesday Wrestling, and you all know what that means. That means once again we get to review NWA Powerrr, AEW Dark, and of course NXT 2.0 enters its fallout after NXT Heatwave. But first things first, we will be reviewing the latest GLEAT event, G Pro Wrestling version 23rd, that took place on the 20th, and of course we'll be reviewing Wrestling Revolver, Sunday Funbey, that took place on the 21st as well. We're also going to do a little talk about the recent press conference with Stardom involving two matches that will take place on September 11th during the 5-star Grand Prix. And of course, we got some news updates that I feel we need to find out what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with the latest GLEAT event that took place on the 20th of August, G Pro Wrestling version 30th. This one has a unique feature that took place. Now, if you guys know, GLEAT only has one championship, the G-Rex title, which is the top title. Now, recently I was trying to figure out, will they be other titles? Well, they announced that there will be a new championship, tag titles, called the G Infinity. Now, don't ask me why they're calling it. Frankly, I don't even want to know. But it seems interesting how they do things their way than other promotions we've seen over time. But I give them credit for trying to do this, but I'm not gonna argue about the name. But they did say there's going to be a bit of a tournament to crown the first ever G Infinity tag team champions. So our first two matches are involving that. This is more of the semi-final rounds. Our first match, we have Bulk Orchestra, consistent with the leader Kawakami and Kazuma Sakamoto. But before their opponents come in, it was revealed that, of course, they just got a new member, and some of you know this guy. Flamita has now joined Bulk Orchestra, so it's kind of interesting that it's been weird now because it's been talked that he will be making his way to GLEAT, and now kind of interesting. But their opponents they're going to get faced is, of course, the other faction known as 60 Seconds, consistent of Keiichi Sato and Ju Tonsho. Now, as you know, Bulk Orchestra are trying to prove once again that they are the most dominating faction. They could not win the G-Rex title time and time again because Il Lindemann is a strong competitor. But now they have to put the cohesive unit to go into this thing. Same thing with 60 Seconds. However, things didn't go so well because apparently Kawakami put what's his name? Tonsho, I think. Put Tonsho into the driver, giving them the edge, so they advanced into the finals. But however, the next match involving this small tournament will feature who will face Kawakami and Sakamoto in the finals. We have, of course, Strong Hearts, consistent of T-Hawk and Shima, taking on Takanori Ito and Kaz Hayashi. The match was pretty good, but however, the match ended badly for Ito and Hawashi because apparently Hawashi accidentally misfired and hit Ito, but it did give, of course, what's his name, T-Hawk, the opportunity to pin Ito. 1, 2, 3, it was over. But of course, Ito was not happy. Hayashi tried to explain what happened, that he did not see that, of course, Seahawk move out of the way and knock them out. It kind of put them in a bit of like, how to say, like F you, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So, but however, of course, now that we know who's going to be facing, it's no surprise to me that we're going to see, once again, another classic, Strong Hearts versus Bulk Orchestra. These two teams hate each other because they're trying to prove who is the dominating faction. That's always been part of the game. Now, our next match is a UWF Rules Tag Team match with, of course, the women taking place. We have Michiko Miyagi teaming up with the new girl, Maya Fukuda, taking on Tomoka Inaba from Just Tap Out and Chihiro Hashimoto. I have to say it was a pretty good match, but Fukuda, as you know, she has a background in martial arts. I was like, she put too much effort. Like, nothing worked in her favor. I mean, everything seems like it was falling into place for Inaba and Hashimoto. And of course, it was, of course, Inaba who picked up the victory onto Fukuda. Now, Miyagi, who is one of the most strongest female wrestlers in the promotion, didn't take any fault to Fukuda for her losing, because, you know, she still hasn't catch up to what Miyagi does every single time. But it was a good effort, but apparently it was Inaba and Hashimoto that won the victory. But I think that it was Inaba who pulled off a submission that forced her to tap out. Yeah. Now, our next match, we have a very strong, interesting combination. We have other members of Strongheart, Onisaki and Shigehiro Iri, teaming with Soma Watanabe and Minoru Tanaka to take on the other members of Bulk Orchestra, consistent of Check, Shimatani, Quiet Storm, Hayato Tamura, and Flamita. Now, as you know, I mentioned time and time again that Bulk Orchestra had tried to prove they are the most dominating faction, and they already proved it. But now that Flamita is in the mix, it changes things, because, you know, Flamita, he's an incredible high flyer. But one thing I did not expect is for him to pull a power bomb on Watanabe to pick up the victory. So I have to say that, you know, the Bulk Orchestra has found themselves a gem. You know, you got a luchador who knows how to do high flying, but do things like that. That is a good points for him to have. Now, our next match is another UWF rules match. We have Tetsuya Izushi taking on Seishi Ikemoto. I thought the match was pretty good because, you know, I hardly see Izushi involved in UWF rules, but I was thinking in the long lines for me that it was Ikemoto who's going to win this one, because he has more experience in this type of the UWF rules match. But somehow he was able to pick up the victory via knockout. Well, he did knock out Ikemoto, but he tried to get up. As you know, you have 10 seconds to get up. If you don't get up, then it's over. So that's what he won. But however, once he was in his victory lap, apparently the members of Bulk Orchestra consisted of Quiet Storm and Check Shimitani shows up. I don't know what they said, but it looks like there's some unresolved issues with him, I'm going to assume. Now, our next match, we have a tag team match. We have Yu Iizuka teaming with El Lindaman, our current G-Rex champion and member of Strong Hearts, to take on the members of Suzuki-gun, Kanemaru, and Doiki. I thought the match was really interesting because you probably would assume, okay, so it's going to be Suzuki-gun's going to lose. But it was Doiki with the Doiki Choki, what Gino Gambino always says, that sealed the deal when he put Iizuka into the tap out one way or the other. So Suzuki-gun won this match, but luckily Lil Lindaman should be thankful that he didn't get pinned, because he would have put the title on the line against one of those two guys. But I have to say, overall, the show was pretty good. I can't wait to see who will be the first crowned Infinity tag team champions. I'm looking forward to it. I hope everybody is. If you guys never seen the GLEAT, it's free. You can watch it on YouTube. So they'll be at. So right now, I believe we ended right here and move on with Wrestling Revolver. Okay, Wrestling Revolver Sunday Funbey. This one took place on the 21st. This was a very exciting event. I think I'm starting to get into the bandwagon of Wrestling Revolver. But let's get into what took place. Opening match, we had Chris Bay taking on Jay Chris. Now, you probably could say this would be a very interesting, unique match because they're both X Division champions, but also part of the whole lineage of this junior heavyweight wrestling stuff. I thought it was pretty good. But, however, in this particular match, Chris Bay was able to outsmart Jay Chris with a roll-up. And Jay Chris was not happy, so he just stomped him onto the ground. So, basically, you can say he's a sore loser, but that's how things ended with him. Next up, we got Jessica teaming with Billy Starks to take on the unit, consistent of Alicia Edwards and Allie Katch. And, of course, that piece of scumbag of the world champion JT Dunn was there, But, of course, he thinks that he has a right to be there, but he should know he's going to get his ass whooped. And he did. He got his ass whooped. But this match ended really nicely because, Alicia got thrown through a door and all that. But it was, in fact, Billy Starks that picked up the win for her team. So it was a good one. So the unit has to go back into the drawing board on this one. Next up, we got two big guys. We got one called Manders taking on Joe Dorian. This is one of those, Clash of the Titans, big individuals. Joe Dorian, we all know who he is, how he is that, big. Manders, he's in it to fight. But, however, it was Joe Dorian that walked out as the victor. Manders did all he could, but 1, 2, 3, he was out. Next up is a sudden death scramble match. We have Ninja Mac versus Crash Jackson versus Nate Wings versus Myron Reed versus Gringo Loco versus Alex Colon. Now, everybody does the whole tope suicida or jump off the ring, that sort of thing. Everyone did that. But I think what was impressive is that right now in this point, Crash Jackson is one of those wrestlers we definitely got to pay attention because he hasn't been pinned or submitted, but he has been successful in winning matches. But it was him with the crash landing onto Nate Wings that allowed him to win the match. So I say Crash Jackson is someone we definitely got to pay attention to. Next up, we got the PWR World Championship. We got Davey Richards versus that scumbag JT Dunn. Now, we know that the unit always has some sort of plan to ensure that title stays in the unit. And of course, like always, Logan James of the Infrared shows up. So is Allie Katch. But of course, it ended with JT Dunn giving him a whack in the back of the head. 1, 2, 3, it's over. They even try to give him a stomping on the ground. But luckily, Davey Richards' Team Ambition show up to give a helping hand. But, however, Sami Callihan, since he's the promoter of Wrestling Revolver, just had enough of the unit. So he decided, you know what, JT Dunn, since your night is not done, so you're teaming up with Logan James. They take on me and Jon Moxley, the Switchblades. And this is a very heavy burn. But you can guess that there is always a plan that the unit have. But when it comes to Switchblade, please, come on. We'll get to that bit. Next up, we got a three-way match. We have Jake Manning, Warhorse, and, of course, Drift Swan. Now, the match was going great from the start. However, once again, that scumbag, Damian Chambers, who always complains and moans and bitches about, I'm not even a match. And he got himself a manager. You guys know him from Impact Wrestling, Johnny E. Bravo. Oh, yeah, and also for, of course, AAW. So he thinks that with him, it could win. So he integrated himself. But on multiple occasions, he hasn't had good luck. Tried to stay in the match because he gets super kicked in the face. But in this particular match, it was Rich Swann that walked out as the victor. So I was happy with that. So it's all night long. So basically, so I feel sorry for Damian Chambers because he always complains. But that's how it ends. Next up, we got two former friends, or if they were ever friends, Madman Fulton versus Ace Austin alongside Gia Miller. Now, Fulton hasn't forgotten how things have changed because he viewed about what happened to him with Josh Alexander and Impact Wrestling, that he fed him to the wolves. Now, for those who know what I'm talking about, his ankle got snapped by Alexander, and Ace Austin did nothing. But however, the match was pretty good. However, Gia Miller decided to get involved. Ref was about to call this a disqualification, but Fulton refuses this match to end that way. So he tried to hurt Gia Miller, but luckily the ref did not see it. Ace Austin gave a low blow to Madman Fulton that allowed him to win the match when he pulled the unfold right on top of the turnbuckle, and it ended right there. So this is a big, big, big loss for Fulton. Now, our next match is the Switchblades rules match between the units Logan James and JT Dunn, along with that piece of garbage, Phil Stumper, taking on the Switchblades. Now, you know this is the Switchblades domain. We got Moxley and Sami Callihan. They took care of business, and that's the good thing. What does JT Dunn and Logan James think it was going to be? This is their domain. Come on. I mean, if you guys remember the showcase, Julia and Mai Sakurai thought in their minds they're gonna walk out as the winners because they never stepped in hardcore matches. But I don't think the unit has did. But it did not work in their favor, thanks to Moxley picking up the win. So it was already over. Now our next match, which is the main event, we have two decorative tag teams. We got the Motor City Machine Guns taking on, of course, the Rascals. Now, this dates back a while back where Alex Shelley was complaining and moaning about how he lost to Trey Miguel for the Remax title. However, the match, of course, once again decided to go in the favor of Motor City Machine Guns where they win. But Trey Miguel decided, that this was not the way it should be. Because the thing is, he thinks that, you complain too much. That's what happened. You know what? Let's start 0-0. So he decides on November 12th, there's going to be an Iron Man match for the Remax title. He's going to play it a different type of game. So basically, Alex Shelley better be prepared. And of course, Myron Reed comes out to celebrate with the Rascals, which is a good moment. So I think it was a pretty good show. I can't wait to see more of Wrestling Revolver and everything else that took place. So I think that's pretty much it right now. But as you know, I mentioned this. It's Tuesday Wrestling. I will do that a little later with NWA Powerrr, AEW Dark, and of course NXT 2.0. Let's just jump in right now. What took place in the press conference that happened today, that will be on the 11th of September for Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix. Okay. Now, I mentioned the press conference recently in the last episode about the New Japan and Stardom. Oh, this one is a different press conference. This is that took place today, and it's going to happen more on the September 11th of this 5-star Grand Prix. They're going to add in championship matches. The first one they added was the artist belts, and this one is between, of course, the current champions Oda Tai, Saki Kashima, Starlight Kid, and Momo Watanabe to take on stars Hanan, Koguma, and Hazuki. Now, this is Hanan's first challenge as an artist. She's currently the future of Stardom, while we saw, of course, Hazuki and Koguma are now the former Goddess of Stardom champions. So now they're going to go for the artist belts. Now, if you ask me this, had they ever faced these championships before? According to what I read, I know Koguma has won the artist belts once before, one with Chelsea and Kairi Hojo, or we know him as Kairi Sane, or just simply Kairi. As for Hazuki, on 4 different occasions, with, of course, Queen's Quest, the first time with her, Io Shirai, Momo Watanabe, twice with Io Shirai and Azumi, and then another time with Io Shirai and Viper, who we know as Dewdrop. So it will be interesting to see now that Koguma and Azuki will be stepping in together for the first time with Hanan, who will be challenging for these titles. So it would make sense. So we'll see what happens then. Now, as you know, this past event with the Stardom 2022, we crowned brand new Goddess of Stardom champions, Tampoi. They were challenged by Mirai and, of course, Ami Suri, who in fact are challenging for a third time. So basically, we know, if you guys remember, first time it was a draw with FWC, second time they lost. But it was a bold move for them to move quickly to make the next challenge after FWC lost. Now, I did mention this before. To be fair, I would have assumed DDM were going to make that challenge. But nope, it had to be God's Eye. But I'm sure, because I can tell the determination how Irai and Ami Sourei, who have been dominant as a team of recently, they wanted to challenge them. But the obvious question is, do they have what it takes to dethrone them, or Tampoi will continue on with their revolution? We don't know. Now, I mentioned about the brackets for the IWGP Women's Championship that was already announced, and this is going to take place. Now, there's going to be 4 wrestlers from the Stardom in one bracket and 3 international wrestlers on the international bracket. Now, some of you probably say, wait a minute, there's 4 and there's 3. Yeah, so basically one is going to have a bye. Now, the first match will be part of the international bracket for Royal Quest 2 in London on the 2nd of October. And then later, of course, we have 2 matches taking place on the 22nd of October, I believe. Yes, October. 2 matches will take place, and then after that, whoever wins those 2 matches will move on to the semifinals that will take place on the 23rd in Corkin Hall. And the same thing goes with the one in the international bracket, where the one who has the bye will be challenged by the one who won on the 2nd of October. And then after that, whoever wins that will be heading to the finals on the November 20th. So it's still unclear who it is, but most likely it could be Mayu Iwatani, since she mentioned that the initial thought that she was going to be teaming with Tanahashi for that joint event. Looks like it's not going to happen. Looks more like they want her to be part of it. So we'll see about that. So I think that's pretty much it for the Stardom Press Conference. So let's move on with news updates. Okay, news updates. Now, if you guys remember, I reviewed the one much recent event by Seedling. Arisa Nakajima got hurt. Not a lot of details were told, but I did receive what I saw on Twitter. What happened? Turns out that her right knee had a medical collateral ligament injury, so basically she'll be out for a while. But Seedling did announce that their August 31st event will be canceled. Now, they did not specify the reasons. I'm sure that they had something planned for that particular day, but we'll see what happens then. Now, before we get into this, I feel like, okay, guys, we know there's, for some of you WWE loyalists out there, are going to say something messed up, but this is very interesting that came around. It was announced that, as you know, Worlds Collide will take place on September 4th. And ironically, it's the same day as AEW All Out. Now, I know some of you WWE loyalists who watch are going to say, ha ha ha, WWE's going to beat out AEW. I'm like, come on, guys. Maybe we don't know what this is about, but there's going to be good stuff on both sides. We're not going to lie. So let's just leave it as that, okay? Now, I did mention on a previous news update, I don't remember when, Maki Ito will be making her Canadian debut with the promotion Nation Extreme Wrestling, where she'll be challenging against Chelsea Green. The event will take place in September, I think on the 26th. However, Nation Extreme Wrestling has announced that due to scheduling conflict, Chelsea Green will not be making it to challenge against Maki Ito. But luckily, they found a suitable replacement, and that replacement turned out to be current Impact star Giselle Shaw. I have to say, good choice. Now, first thing first, I want to say out right now, happy anniversary to our former AEW Women's Champion and the current Regina the Wave Champion, Hikaru Shida, 14 years in the wrestling business. That's a great accomplishment. So, happy anniversary. Now, our final update here. As you know, I mentioned GCW are heading to Japan. So, they're going to have all their shows in Tokyo, but in one venue, and that is the Shinkiba First Ring. Now, if this is another famous venue down there in Tokyo. I've seen it many times with various promotions, mostly in the independent promotions. But their shows will be named like previous events. On the 26th September, they're going to have Planet Death, which is going to be good. Second, the 27th, DOA, Dead on Arrival. And then, of course, October 4th, War Ready. So they already have this planned out. All their shows will take place in the same venue. Now, it's still unclear who will be going to Japan. I wouldn't be surprised if we see wrestlers from Freedom or Big Japan Pro Wrestling. I wouldn't be surprised on that, but we'll see what happens then. So I think that's pretty much with the news updates. I believe it's time to start with the Tuesday wrestling events. First one's going to be NWA Powerrr. Okay, now since we're now entering the wrestling events because it's Tuesday wrestling, so let's start with NWA Powerrr. It opened up with a very interesting exhibition match, a catch weight. Excuse me, a catch weight exhibition match. We have Caprice Coleman versus Chris Adonis. Now, some of you probably saying, "What the hell is catch weight?" It's similar as the grappling, the technical aspect, pure wrestling style. If you guys know this, Caprice Coleman has done commentating for Ring of Honor. He's always spoken highly of the pure championship in Ring of Honor, that sort of thing. Now, this was a very interesting matchup because what I did like is how Caprice Coleman was looking for a weak spot on Adonis. Now, keep in mind, it's a very strategic move from him. But unfortunately, it did not work in his favor because he ended up in the master lock. But he tried to break free, but he was just too much for him. So basically, Chris Adonis won the match by submission. Now, we do get a little interesting interview coming up in the podium with Kyle Davis. We have Kylan King, Camille, and Tom Latimer. Now, keep in mind, Camille is self-aware now that in NWA 74, she will be facing Taya Valkyrie. But if she does walk out as the women's champion, she'll be facing the winner of the Burke Invitational. So that's going to be more of a high alert. As for Tom Latimer, he is still trying to step up his game as much as possible to catch up to Camille to be the ultimate power couple. As for Kylan King, we know that she probably will participate in NWA 74. I'm sure that she's part of the Burke Invitational. Now, we do get a very interesting matchup. We have Genocide versus Kayla Cassidy. Now, as you know, Genocide has not been a very happy mood. Opportunity. She keeps getting lost in the shuffle in some ways. But she really did pull herself back together when she applied the Jenna 9000 onto Kayla Cassidy, giving her the W. Now, we do get another podium interview, this time with Kyle Davis, but also with the one group nobody likes in NWA, we're talking about the Cardonas. Yes, I'm talking about VSK, Mike Knox, uh, Chelsea Green, Brian Myers, and Matt Cardona. Now, everyone had their issues. Now, here, keep in mind, Mike Knox thinks that he's the good guy in the story because he felt that Bully Ray was the one who made him feel like crap. So everybody knows that's not what happened. Look, he told him to back away from him, but he didn't do that. So he put him through a table. But this time he thinks that he'll end him, and it'll be the end of it for him. But as for Cardona, as you know, he has not been happy since he had no other choice but to relinquish the 10 pounds of gold. So he's looking for a way to get back on it. But the problem is he's still injured. That's the problem he has to deal with. We don't know if the always ready moniker means that he's always ready. That's the thing. Now we got a very interesting elimination tag match. We have Dirty Sexy Boys, Dirty Dango and JTG. Let's get weird. Versus Hawks, Ari, Luke, and PJ, and versus Red Titus and Gustavo Aguilar. Now, this was a very interesting matchup because there was a lot of variables on this one. Now, I have to say, the one team that I was mostly looking forward to see who was going to walk out, and I'd be lying, it was either going to be 30 Sexy Boys or Hawks RE. So those were the only two options that I was thinking. However, I was surprised that it was Hawks RE that eliminated 30 Sexy Boys, and then after that, it was Luke Hawks that picked up the victory when he pinned Gustavo and won the match. So basically, I don't know what this means, but I hope with this match, Hawks RE do get back into the tag team title hunt. That's something that I could definitely see down the line for them, because I know, PJ had a great opportunity for the junior heavyweight title, but I feel like right now they need to step up as a tag team at this point. Now, this next match, this one was very unusual. Well, this variable happened here. Originally, we saw that Ella Envy set herself up to face against her own tag team partner Kenzie Page. So that was basically a weird moment. But the match ended in a somewhat of a no contest thanks to Mysterio bringing two women with him, Haley Shadows and Jay Lee. Now, we don't know what's the significance of this whole thing, bringing these women into the match. But this was a non-title match, in case anybody asks. But unfortunately, it was, of course, Pretty Empowered that won the match thanks to Kenzie Page. But of course, once again, they decided to stir the pot with their opponents for NWA 74, the Hex. But the one thing that was really messed up, Ella Envy left behind Kenzie Page to get her ass beat up by the Hex. So that obviously raises the question, is Ella Envy and Kenzie Page are good? We know they had some issues recently, with, of course, Kenzie questioning Ella's tactics. We just don't know how this one will play out along the way. Now, we do get a very last interview with Trevor Murdoch. As you know, he is entering the NWA 74, so he said that he's bringing hell with him. We don't know what is that supposed to mean, but it could definitely means that we're going to see maybe another side of him. Now, our main event is a very interesting tag team match. We got the Spectaculars that were recently formed by Brady Pierce and Russ Freeman, and Alejandro is playing manager, to take on the Commonwealth Connection, Doug Williams and Harry Smith. Now, I do know recently that the Spectaculars are going to compete for the NWA United States Tag Team titles. Now, I know some of you are thinking in the back of your heads, really, there's going to be another set of tag team titles? Well, we've seen that many times on certain occasions, but I don't know what's the significance, but I'm going to speculate that these titles will be part of NWA USA. I can see that. But, back to the match, I have to say this particular match shows that, Commonwealth Connection are the strong group, and they picked up a very good victory going into NWA 74. That is something we definitely could see, but like I said, we're going to see the Spectaculars compete for the NWA United States Tag Team title. So we'll wait to see that. So I believe we're done with NWA. I believe it's time with AEW Dark. Okay, AEW Dark. Just to put this and rate it with this, that it went over an hour and a half plus. First time in quite some time. But it's okay. I mean, there were some good, interesting matches that really played out some interesting. So let's talk about it. Our first match, we had the Renegade Twins, Robin and Charlotte, taking on Rocky Bradley and Ali Rocks. I think that's her name. But yeah. But thing is, we've been seeing the Renegade Twins time and time again since the pandemic, and I think they're a pretty good team. But of course, this time they did not pull the old switcheroo, the Bella Twins switcheroo that we always seen. But this time, it just went straight forward. They won by pinfall. Next up, we got Anthony Ogogo versus Meadow. Now, I don't need to tell you how this match goes, but I can tell you how this match ended with a knockout and a 10 count, and boom, that's how he wins in that order. Next up, we got the Wingmen, Peter Avalon, Brian Menth, along with Cesar Bononi to take on Liam Gray and Adrian Alinas. Yeah, that's the guy. Anyway, this is a new side of what's their name, of the Wingmen they've been bringing out. And I know that many times we have seen the Wingmen bring a lot of good wins, but also when it comes to losing, they are like the losing team that has to lose. But this time we're seeing now that, okay, they're getting back on track on where they're going to go and all this and that. But it was Peter Avalon that picked up the victory, giving the Wingmen the momentum. Our next match, we have Blake Christian taking on Lucky Ali. If you guys never seen Lucky Ali, I talked about him on the Deadlock Pro Wrestling event. I have to say it was a pretty good match, but it was Blake Christian with the stomp to the back of the head that gave him the win. So we have been seeing a lot of good things. Now, I know some of you are thinking in the back of your heads, is he going to AEW? Well, we don't know, because we know he's made different appearances in New Japan Strong. He's mostly been operating in GCW. There's a lot of promotions he's been appearing, but it's still unclear. Next up, we got Jora Joel versus Vadi Morales. It was a pretty good match, but what surprised me is how this match ended. Is what a calculated move that Jora Joel pulled when Vadi Morales jumped off the corner turnbuckle, and Jora gave him a huge pump kick down on the ground. 1, 2, 3. That was impressive. That was very, very good calculation. So we could see more things like that with him. Next up, we got Max Caster versus Justin Gatto. Now, keep in mind, Anthony Bowens wasn't there, but he had someone to do the Bowens lines. But excuse me. Anyway, it was an okay match, despite the fact that probably many fans would prefer him as a tag team competitor. But he did win by applying the mic drop, as always, and of course, he gave Aubrey Edwards the scissors. Yeah, I don't know what she was going through in that one. Next up, we got the Factory, Aaron Solo and Nick Comoroto taking on Matt Sydal and Dante Martin. It was a pretty good match. Now, the one thing we could see in the variables of this one, we have with the Factory, we got one guy who's a huge, big individual. We're talking about Nick Comoroto. Aaron Solo, he has a bit of the speed in his side, but you got Dante Martin, who is much faster than Aaron Solo. And as for Matt Sydal, we know he's both high flyer and groundwork. But it was the nosedive by Dante Martin that sealed the deal by pinning Aaron Solo, giving him and Sydal the win. Next up, we got Daniel Garcia taking on Weston Blake. You may know him from the Forgotten Sons in NXT. And of course, he is currently Wrestling Revolver tag champion with Steve Maclin. Now, this is the first time being here, but I think the story they're building up with him is like, okay, he's conflicted with everything that's been going on with them. I thought he was going to win this match like that in certain aspects, but no. It was like he was getting himself beat up with Blake, but he was able to pick up a good win with the Dragon Sleeper on Westlake. But we will see what's going to take place on Dynamite with his decision that he's going to make. Next up, we got the Trustbusters, and it appears they got a new butler, and it's, of course, we recognize him, that's VSK, but he calls him Jeeves K. Don't ask me why. But, of course, it was the sliced bread by Slim J that picked up the victory with their opponents, Cashflow, Ryan, Howell, and Omar, whatever. I forgot his last. My writing's kind of messed up on notes. But, yes. But, of course, we did. Tony Schiavone's had to bring up, knowing that they lost the, in the trios tournament, but only a minor setback on their part. But we know how Ari Daivari is going to treat this. Next match, we got the Dark Order. Silver, Reynolds, and Ten taking on Tashawn Perez, DK Vandu, and Joey Sweet. As you know, this is a warm-up for them because this coming Friday on Rampage, they'll be facing against Malachi Black. Now, this match ended with the Pendulum Bomb thanks to Silver, and he picked up the victory for Dark Order. However, I did like his compassion during the post-match interview, where he says that everybody are viewing them as the underdogs. I have to say they are the underdogs because they're facing a very dominant team. So basically, we could see, okay, a maybe slim chance of them to win, but we don't know until that day happens. So I'm rooting for them. Next up, we got Josh Woods and Tony Nese, along with Sterling, to take on Oliver, Sawyer, and GKM. Now, I can tell you that this match ended by the great combination from Woods and Nese. But during the post-match interview, Sterling is pissed off that Mox actually hurt him some more. I'm like, oh, God, here we go. That Sterling didn't learn the last time when he actually confronted Mox. Do you guys remember that whole thing with MJF? I hate to see it. He's going to end up for another ride. Now, this was a very unusual thing that took place. Bear Country is no more. Now they're calling themselves the Iron Savages, along with their new manager, JT Davison, taking on Manny Lowe and Sean Maluta. Now, I have to say, I'm going to miss the Bear Country, but I don't know how this thing with Iron Savages is going to work for me, but I'm willing to give it a shot. See, I mean, I didn't see nothing wrong with Bear Country, but I'm assuming maybe they wanted to give them a much better edge. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case, but we'll see. But they were very impressive by giving a good win. Next up, we got the Workhorsemen, Drake and Henry, taking on Rosario Grillo and Dean Alexander. I have to say, Workhorsemen are an impressive tag team. We definitely could see them down the line for much better opportunities. And they picked up the victory. And finally, we have Colin King versus Mafiosa. This match ended beautifully on Colin King's favor, but one thing that we did not expect is the arrival of Britt Baker. As you know, Colin King feels, all that said some things about Britt Baker and all that, and she didn't like that. As you know, Britt Baker thinks that, the women's division is a huge mess since she lost the AEW women's title. But I don't think Colin King sees that way. I think it's like, she busted her butt, even though she wasn't signed to the company, but AEW gave her an opportunity during the time of the pandemic, and I think she's grateful for that. But we will see those two collide at Rampage. This is going to be fun to see. So I think that's it right now. So let's move on with our last review, and I believe is NXT 2.0. Okay, you guys have been hearing this. I've been talking about it. As you know, NXT is ceased to exist now. It's coming to an end. It opened up with Braun Breaker, who is the leader of the NXT brand, facing off the leader of the NXT UK brand. So basically, we're going to have two of the most decorated champions face off each other, and there will be a match in Worlds Collide where there'll be the unification, which is going to be great. I'm looking forward to this. I know the last Worlds Collide took place 3 years ago, I believe, yeah, 3 years ago, but they did not have this type of thing, except the Cruiserweight title that was vacant at the time. Now, our opening match is the NXT UK Tag Team titles. We had the Gallows Boys, Mark Coffey and Wolfgang, former tag champions, taking on Briggs and Jensen, along with Fallon Henley. However, this match had a lot of disdainful variables that went chaotic. As you know, Pretty Deadly shows up, so is Lash Legend to get their hands on Henley but however, the match ended with Gallus winning the match, but not the tag titles, and then of course Diamond Mine attacked him. Now, what this whole story tells us is this: you look at guys like Gallus and Pretty Deadly are disgusted that two Americans won the NXT UK tag titles. They feel like those titles don't belong to you guys; they belong to the NXT UK brand. And I think that tells us everything. But however, this feud between them, I mean, look, Jensen and Brooks beat Pretty Deadly. That's supposed to be the end of it, but Pretty Deadly refuses to let it go. Gallus Boys, well, they attacked Diamond Mine just to make a statement. So there are a lot of things going around, and I think that tells us, okay, but what does this mean for the NXT UK tag titles? Well, later on, it was Diamond Mine were like throwing a lot of happiness that they got their hands on Gallus, but however, we're gonna see another unification match with the tag titles for both sides. Despite that Brooks and Jensen are not British, many fans would have preferred that way, but I'm not sure how you guys would feel. But we'll see what happens then. Now, speaking of more of what's been going on with NXT UK, Chase U hired Charlie Dempsey to teach them a little bit of the Tachcan British style wrestling. Charlie Dempsey is basically taking way too serious. Many of the students were getting hurt. Chase was trying to say it's an exhibition, not a real live match. So basically, things got out of chaotic for him. Now, as you know, Grayson Waller, once again, he decides that he's happy that Johnny Gargano's back, but he's scared to come back to NXT. Nope, he's not scared. He's done. But however, he feels that Apollo Crews is stealing the spotlight. He thinks that the spotlight is all about Waller, but Crews, he's not here to take the spotlight. He has some unfinished business. But the good thing is he knocked his ass out, which is great. And I'm sure many fans would say, including Wade Barrett, who had enough of him, he had that coming. Now, our next interview, we got Mr. Stone and Von Wagner. I think they're finding this whole thing with Tyler Bate that he's pathetic because he calls him the big strong boy or something like that. So Von Wagner was like, "What is this crap, big strong boy? I'm a big strong man." So he sets himself in a match against Bate, and I thought it was going to be interesting. Now, our next match, we have Javier Bernal, who's been nothing but a problem, taking on Cameron Grimes, who's dealing with his own issues towards the schism. We're talking about Gazy and the Dyad. Of course, they've been watching his match, but it was Cameron Grimes who actually picked up a good win against Bernal, but we don't know, what does this mean? Is he considering joining the schism? That's the thing that it's still unclear. Next match, we have Indy Hartwell versus Blair Davenport. Now, Davenport has been making head spin because, as you know, she's been complaining about, okay, she should have been the NXT UK Women's Champion. So now she decided, okay, I'm going after Mandy Rose instead. I'm taking that title from her. But Indy Hartwell has stood no match against Blair Davenport and basically lost. But Davenport is now saying that, she is going to be coming for the title. Mandy Rose had anything to say about that. So basically, it was more like, show some respect to her name. But Davenport, we all know, she doesn't give a damn. She wants what she wants. She gets what she wants. But however, another legend shows up in the current NXT UK Women's Champion, Meiko Satomura, and we're going to do the whole unification thing as well. But however, Dan Report felt she was left out. People were telling her to shut the hell up. But of course, Meiko Satomura does not turn away from a challenge. That's who she is. That's what a real fighting champion is. But keep in mind, there's a lot of variables in this one that could go in a different direction. Now, we've been seeing, as Tiffany Stratton, as you know, will be in the main event for the Lights Out match against Wendy Choo. Now, she thinks that, that now that she will make her move. If she beats Wendy Choo, she'll be making her move for the Women's Unification title. That is something. But she feels that she's going to end Wendy Choo once and for all. But that match is going to be a little later. Now, as you know, recently we've been seeing dissensions coming from the Familia. As you know, Santos Escobar is gone. He lost the bet, that sort of thing. But D'Angelo questions Legatos with what happened last time, that kind of thing. But we'll see what happens later. Now, as you know, the current NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Katana Chase and Kaden Carter, are making headways. But as Wesley, I don't know what's Wesley's role with them now, but he's giving them some guidance, telling them, look, guys, ladies, you guys are now the new NXT Women's Champion. But you guys will be having targets everywhere, coming left and right, up and down, and they know that. So he's trying to give them some encouragement, but at the same time, he's enjoying what they're saying about how they're going to deal with it. So that's a good thing out of their part. Now, while all these segments have been taking place, Indy Hartwell was still in the ring. She's feeling disappointed about things that Harley went wrong for her, all this and that. Guess who came back? Dexter came back. So Index is back together. And I wish Beth Phoenix was there, because you know how she is, telling the Cinderella story as always. I will never forget that every single time. But Dexter carried Indy Hartwell out and said his goodbyes. But even though he doesn't talk, he was arrested because he went inside the building. But he gave her a letter saying, goodbye, Indy. For now, I love you. So, this looks like this is not the end of Index. I think we're taking like a bit of a pause with them, what's happening. So, it's kind of interesting. Now, last week we saw Cora Jade defeated Roxanne Perez. Now, during her interview, she's saying that Roxanne Perez is not better than her because she did not fool through. As you know, Roxanne wanted to use that stick of hers right in her face, but it did not go well for her at all. So basically now she's saying she's better than her. So we'll see about that. Now, we saw the dyad with taking on Legado. I have to say this was a bad loss for Legado, because as you know, things have not been the same now that Santos Escobar is gone and all this. But the one thing that was strange, Grimes was watching this match. So the obvious question does remain. Is Grimes considering joining them? That is still unclear. But if it does, I don't know how the fan base is going to react to that. But the best part that took place, Legado was not happy with the idea how they lost. But out of nowhere, Santos Escobar showed up. And he says, what? Did you guys think I was not going to leave without you? So he came back to rescue Legado from D'Angelo and decided to take them with him wherever he's going to go. Because he said something. La Familia always stays together. So basically, he's not going to abandon them. And I think it shows, okay, he is a much better leader than D'Angelo. But I don't know how D'Angelo's going to take it now that they're gone. So we'll see. Now our next match we have is, of course, the Tyler Bate versus Von Wagner This match was mostly dominated by Von Wagner, but when it comes to Tyler Bate, do not count him out. That's the last thing you need. But one thing led to another is how Tyler Bate was able to pull it off, and he did it beautifully by pinning Von Wagner. Now, during an exclusive content that took place on YouTube, Wagner was not happy that he cannot believe once again he lost. Now, he could say, I'm strong, I'm still standing, all you want. But right now, I think his mind is really like, what the hell? I'm still standing, but I lost? So I think it tells us a very psychological mentalness of him. Now, keep in mind, Solo Sikoa's out, but he won the match. But Wagner claims in his own mind, I won because I'm still standing. But now he's not standing because right now his mind is so out of place because he lost to Tyler Bate. So we'll see about that. Now, our main event is the Lights Out match. Tiffany Stratton and Wendy Chu. These two ladies have been going at each other's throats for quite some time, for months, I think. Ever since Tiffany Stratton feels that, Wendy Chu didn't belong here, that she should be gone out of NXT. But Wendy Chu, as you know, she's a very interesting wrestler, but her behavior is the one thing that kind of disrupts what Tiffany Stratton is trying to believe. I was surprised that she brought Legos. I'm like, I can't believe that they went that far. I mean, I have seen Legos being used in DDT Pro Wrestling. Yes, I've seen that. If you guys don't believe me, go check it out. The only two people that use those is Shunna Katsumata and Akane Fujita. So, yes, and it hurts like hell that, of course, Wendy Chu put Tiffany Stratton through a table, but in the process, she pinned her 1, 2, 3, winning the match. I was like, okay, so it's pretty good. But what does this mean for Tiffany Stratton? Is her objective to get the women's title still in play, or is she going to be put in the back seat for quite some time until it comes up? Well, we don't know. But the one thing I did like is the ending. It's how they showed everyone signing the contracts. The three ladies, Dan Report, Satomura, and Mandy signed the contract. And then, of course, we got Bate and Breaker do the same thing. So I can't wait to see Worlds Collide. Right now, it's going to be a little difficult because I'm going to be juggling back and forth because that very same day, and it's going to have All Out as well. So we'll see what happens. But right now, I think that's pretty much it. So I think it's time for me to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. This is the biggest one I've ever done so far. Well, I have done 5 reviews, but adding the press conference was something I was not intending to do. But we'll see. Hope everybody enjoys everything I've done. Coming up, since it's Wednesday, we know it's going to be AEW Dynamite. However, I will be reviewing the latest Choco Pro event, which is a 1-match long thing I'm looking forward to. And of course, we have the latest GLEAT show, G PROWRESTLING version 31. I'm excited for that. If there's anything else, I'll put that as well. So we're just going to keep it like that until the next episode. If there's any news updates for everyone, I'm going to put that out as well. So I think that's pretty much it right now. So I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.